we're in the Psalms, and we're going to pick it up here in Psalm 22, which, it's mine is headed up here in my Bible. This isn't part of the actual scripture. It says a cry of anguish and a song of praise. But this is called a messianic psalm, and it begins with a very, very famous statement, one that Jesus cried out on the cross. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's the very first verse in Psalm 22. And so we see why they would label it as a messianic psalm, that talks about the Lord himself. But we see some real specifics, like verse 17, I can count all my bones, they stare at me. The story about the Messiah is all of his bones, none of his bones would be broken. So even though he was crucified, none of his bones were broken. I can count all my bones. That's what it means. All my bones are accountable for. None of them are broken. And if you remember the two thieves on the cross, if you've read the New Testament, before they were taken down off the cross, they were ordered to break their legs. But Jesus' legs weren't broken because he had already died. They broke their legs so that they couldn't support themselves anymore, and they would sag, and it would put pressure on their lungs, and they would suffocate. But Jesus, since he was deemed already dead, they didn't break his legs, and that helped fulfill this very verse in Psalm 22. Verse 18, they divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. They actually did that at the crucifixion. Amazing that this was written, 1,000 years or so before that, and it comes to pass at that time. So it's called a messianic psalm, a psalm about the Lord. Let me read a couple other verses I've written down here. Verse 6, but I am a worm and not a man, a reproach of men and despised by the people. All who see me sneer at me, they separate with the lip, they wag at their head, saying, commit yourself to the Lord, let him deliver him, let him rescue him, because he delights in him. And here, even when Jesus was crucified, he was taunted. If you are the Christ, come down from the cross. They were wagging their heads, they were assailing him with, these words. And so we see how that came to pass. So a messianic psalm, a psalm about the Messiah coming that's already been fulfilled. Amazing story, though. And then we've got Psalm 23, which is probably the most beloved psalm of all the psalms. You find it in many at funerals. It was written on a lot of the little notices. You'll find the obituary notices. The Lord is my shepherd. And it says, I shall not want. I think the important thing here, if you read through this, if a doctor's to know if somebody's sick, they have to know what's normal first, right? If he doesn't know that normal is 98.6, your temperature, then he doesn't know if you're abnormal. Psalm 23 is kind of a thing, if you're really following the shepherd, what your life should be like. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. Okay, where do you camp? Are you always in turmoil? Are you always in crisis? Are you always in these situations? If you are, that's not normal. Everyone walks through the valley of the shadow of death. Everyone walks through dry places, but where do you lie down? Do you lie down in green pastures? Do you have a place of rest in following your shepherd? Or is your shepherd always leaving you someplace that's just desolate, chaotic, and whatever? If so, you're probably not quite following the Lord as your shepherd. And so surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life. But that's right after thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Is there trouble? Yes. But this then talks about the deliverance from trouble, the place of rest. I'll fear no evil, even though evil's all around me at times. Where are you lying down? Are you in green pastures? You're lying down in the desert. And so this is kind of a psalm, very comforting, but it also is a measuring psalm as to, are we living the normal God-following life, Christian life in our sense now in the New Testament. So, beloved psalm, wonderful psalm. It'd be good for you to memorize that one. I think a lot of people have over the years, but if you haven't, that'd be a good one to memorize. Unique Psalm 32. We've jumped ahead quite a few, and I'm not jumping past them because they're not significant. I've just got to choose some and not others when you got 150 of them. So Psalm 32 gives some real keys here. Verse 1, how blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. You know, what a wonderful thing when you know you're forgiven. How blessed is a man to whom the Lord does not impute iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. You're no longer trying to cover up anymore. You've come clean with the Lord, you've come clean with others. Your spirit's open, and there's no deceit left, and how wonderful that place is. And it says, verse 3 describes something. When I was kept silent about my sin, my body wasted away through my groaning all day long. And I think you could probably find this, the truth of this is really a key to health. When I kept silent about my sin, when we try and hide our sin, so my body wasted away. There's likely all kinds of diseases, conditions, physical and mental and emotional, that result from us not being open and confessing our sin, but trying to hide our sin. And he says here, it actually made my body waste away. There's physical things that he was saying that happen when I do that. I'm going to jump way ahead, and I've got some real favorites in here, but I'm going to go to Psalm 41. In the beginning again, it says, how blessed is he who considers the helpless. The Lord will deliver him in a day of trouble. The Lord will protect him and keep him alive, and he shall be called blessed upon the earth. And do not give him over to the desire of his enemies. The Lord will sustain him on his sick bed. In his illness, thou dost restore him to health. Who does he do that for? Well, if we read it and you read the context, the one who considers the helpless, the one who considers the poor, the one who considers the needy. It says, if you'll do that, the Lord will keep you alive in your time of trouble. The Lord will sustain you upon your sick bed. In your illness, he'll restore you to health. So there's promises there. It doesn't say that you would never get sick, but it says in that time, the Lord will rescue you if you'll consider rescuing others. And it's a principle that's all through the Bible. The principle of sowing and reaping. Whatever we sow, we reap. You know, you plant corn, you get corn. You plant hatred, you get hatred. You know, it's all three. You plant mercy. You know, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. And so that's the same thing, but it's right there in Psalm 41 to say, to remind us that you're blessed if you consider the helpless, the needy, the poor. If you'll consider them, the Lord will protect you and keep you alive in your time of need. Psalm 46, and I want to throw one in here with that is Psalm 91 a little later, but these songs for times of big trouble. I mean, big trouble. This is talking about things when the earth is shaking, that the earth is changing. Psalm 46 says, God is our refuge and strength, the very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. We will not fear. How many times do we need to rehearse that? We will not fear. Fear is just something that's just all over the world right now, and it's promoted because actually fear can help manipulate things too, if you can create the fear. We will not fear though the earth should change and though the mountains slip into the heart of the sea. You know, if you're seeing islands disappear, if you're seeing mountains disappear, and we had a big mountain exploded in the midst of the sea just this last week, I believe, in Tonga, outside of Tonga, one of the biggest blasts ever. Though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains quake at its swelling pride, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God. You know, and so this is a psalm of comfort in the midst of real chaos. And it fits right in with Psalm 91. I'll have to jump way ahead here for just a minute. We'll come back to some other ones. But Psalm 91 talks about he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For it is he who delivers you from the snare of the trapper, from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions. So verses that we need to cling to in the time of trouble, given to us for really big time trouble. In verse 14 of Psalm 91, it says, because he has loved me, the Lord speaking, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him securely on high because he has known my name. He will call upon me and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and let him behold my salvation. So here's promises, and these promises are given not in the really for the really nice situations. These are promises given for when the earth is shaking, when mountains are falling in the sea, when deadly pestilence is around. So Psalms to memorize for tough times: Psalm 46, Psalm 91. Great Psalms to just have to meditate upon, because we can get trouble just looking at circumstances. And so God's given us an answer in all of these different Psalms, some place to go to for comfort in every different kind of situation.